Okay, so this is problem 8.6.23, and you can't really read the directions there, but the directions say find the partial fraction decomposition of the following rational expression. So what we're doing is we're finding the PFD, partial fraction decomposition, okay? And this is the problem we're working with, x over x plus 1, x plus 2, and x plus 3. So the first thing we need to do is do the setup, and each of these factors in the bottom are linear factors and they're not repeated. So that's a case 1 scenario if you looked at the 4 cases that you were talking about in section 8.6. It's an unrepeated linear scenario, linear factors. So we would say that we're going to set it up with a over x plus 1 plus b over x plus 2 and then c over x plus 3. Okay. Okay, so now at this point what we're going to do is we actually need to clear the fraction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by the denominator, the common denominator, which is x plus 1, x plus 2, and x plus 3. And we're multiplying both sides by that. It's kind of scrunched here. Okay, so that's x plus 1, x plus 2, and x plus 3. So what's going to happen is on this side, the denominators are just going to go away and we're going to be left with x. Okay. On this side, the x plus 1, we're actually going to have to distribute this whole thing to each of these. So each piece here is getting multiplied by this whole thing. So when we do that, when we distribute this whole thing, the x plus 1s will cancel. And we have a times the x plus 2 and the x plus 3. The x plus 2s will cancel when we're talking about the b. So we'll have b times x plus 1 and x plus 3. And then x plus 3's will cancel with the c, so we have c times x plus 1 and x plus 2. Okay? All right, so that right there says x plus 1 and x plus 2. Okay? All right, so what we want to do now is we want to try and solve for a, b, and c. And I think the easiest way to do this one is to use the let x equals method. So if I let x equal, let's start with -2. If I let x equal -2, it's actually going to zero out a couple of these things, and then I'll be able to solve for my b. Okay, and the reason I'm choosing -2 is because this factor right here, x plus 2, will be 0 when x is -2. So it eliminates this entire term, okay, as well as this term. All right, so let's plug in -2. Then I get a -2 on this side, equaling this whole term goes to 0 because it's going to be -2 plus 2. So then I just have b times -2 plus 1 and -2 plus 3. Okay, and then this whole thing's going to go to 0 as well because of the -2 being plugged in. -2 plus 2 is 0. So we can just solve for b now. We have b times -1 times a positive 1. And that's a -b equals -2. And so our b equals a positive 2 here. Okay, so there's one of them. So the next thing we want to do is we want to let x equal, we're going to let x equal both -3 and -1 because those will cause zeros as well. So let's let x equal -3 next. We'll have a -3 equals, I'm plug in a -3 here for x. When I plug it in here, it's going to give me a 0. And when I plug it in here, it's going to give me a 0. Okay, so those terms are just going to go away. We'll have c times -3 plus 1 and -3 plus 2. So this here is a -2 times a -1. So that's -3 equals 2c. And c is -3 halves. Okay? All right, and we also should let x equal a -1. That's going to allow us to solve for a. Okay, so let's see. Get another piece of paper. Okay, so let's let x equal -1. Oops. Hold on, my computer's doing something weird. decides to be funny right in the middle of a video. Anyways, okay, so let's let x equal -1. So we have -1 equals, this is going to be a times -1 plus 2, and then -1 plus 3. Okay, and then both of these terms are going to be 0. This b term here, -1 plus 1, that's 0, and over here that's 0. So we get -1 is a times 1 times 2. So that's 2a equals -1. So then when we divide by 2, then a is a -1/2. Okay? So now we know we found a, b, and c, and we can plug those back into our partial fraction up here, and that will be our partial fraction decomposition. Okay, so it's going to look like this. Excuse me, I have some allergies. Okay, so it's a over x plus 1. So it's going to, and our a is -1/2, so it's going to be -1 over 2 times x plus 1. And then we have b over x plus 2, and b is 2. So that's going to be plus 2 over x plus 2. And then plus c, and c is -3/2. So we have a -3 over 2 times x plus 3. Okay, so that right there is our partial fraction decomposition for this problem. Okay.